Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I have the beautiful Dr. Carla Atkinson here with me. Dr. Carla specializes in functional health for mums. She looks at pretty much everything that's going on under the surface and why we feel depleted or not great. She has a stack of resources online if you'd like to check her out. She's at Dr. Carla Atkinson on Instagram. But thank you so much for joining me.
My pleasure. Excited to be here.
Yeah, awesome. So just to jump in, tell me a bit about yourself. So how you got to be Dr. Carla Atkinson.
Right, well, my PhD is actually in marine neuroscience. So I'm a shark biologist originally,
Wow.
coming across from UK to Australia, the land of the sharks, and studied all the neurology and the taste sense. But during that, I did a lot of tutoring with physiology and anatomy of all the senses and things like that, and got a real love of human body. Had a lot of health issues myself, predominantly with mental health issues through eating disorders. Had anorexia, lots, just depression kind of on and off throughout my life, and then lots of gut issues as well, parasites and things like that, that caused a lot of pain in my gut. So yeah, lots of fun. But I've always been a kind of believer that there's a reason for things. I'm not I don't think things just happen to us. I think there's a reason, and I wasn't getting any answers through conventional means. I did all the antibiotics, did all the counseling and that, and it just wasn't getting me any results. And that's when, being a research scientist, I kind of just went on my own little journey trying to figure out what was going on. And then that's when I found the functional health and specialized in different areas through there, which has just been absolutely life-changing. So
Yeah.
that's how I got into this field. And yeah, it's definitely been a journey. It still is a journey after having twins as well. So
Yes. How old are your babies?
They're 4. They're 4.5 now. So the 2 identical boys. They are definitely they're big mirrors, aren't they, children, shall we say?
Yeah, they show us everything we need to heal, right? And
yeah, that's it. And you think you've done the work, and then it's like comes back again. But
yeah, absolutely. I think the work never ends, does it, when you are on a healing journey?
No, but it's also like I do believe like we're here to kind of learn and develop ourselves and grow as people as well, and that's a really awesome way to do it. So they actually answered when I had my twins. I had postnatal depression, and big depletion. I didn't like who I was at all. Massive fatigue. I have a very I'm an only child and a very independent kind of person, wanting to do things for myself and needing help, and had a lot of struggle asking for that help. And obviously having twins and having one child, you need help. It's I think that's a big challenge with modern mums that they're facing at the moment, is it's just not really there. We're expected to do it all on our own, and we might think that we can and want to do it all on our own, and there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, understanding ourselves and understanding why it's difficult, I think, is a big eye opener. That awareness is real key.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. I'm married to a twin, and a twin fraternal twin.
Yeah.
And they are, it's funny when they get together, they'll just sit in silence, but it's like not silent to them, like they're just happy sitting together. Like they've got such a beautiful connection now. When I talk to their mom about like having twins, it just sounds gnarly. Like I've got 2 babies, but they were very much different ages. And I just hats off to mums of multiples. It's a whole new world. I think it's amazing. So what made you want to focus on mums? So you've come from working with sharks, which is bloody amazing. I did not know that about you, to working with mums. So how'd that happen?
Yeah. So, well, in the functional health field, you find all these answers, and you're like, everybody needs to know everything. So you try and help everybody, which is just not possible. So I've worked a lot with different people. Still work with children, because that ties a lot in with moms as well. But yeah, working with different, I do massage as well. So I have a lot of different clients on my massage table, to meet and to start talking about how we can help them with other areas. So work with lots of different people, but really, I guess it's literally, again, through my own struggles. I think that we are the best, what's the word? I guess we're of the best service to people when we've kind of done the journey ourselves, and we've grown and we've struggled as well, and we can really get that compassionate and empathy for people, and we understand where they're coming from, and we can sort of show them different aspects of thinking or different ways of doing things that we know that they're blinded to, because we were blinded to back then as well. So yeah, through my own struggles and seeing that there was nothing available really for me to help me with those things. And I've now gone into seasons of matrescence teacher training. I did all that as well, so that literally helping the moms through that transformation that it's a transformation, and just even that awareness around, oh my gosh, you know, like in adolescence we change from a child to an adult, and that's a massive like ongoing period, and we know all the brain changes that we go through then, and we just think that we can being a mom is just natural to us, it should just come as second nature, and it's not. It's a big transformation. Like pretty much every aspect literally of your life kind of gets impacted in some way or form, shape or form. And so yeah, just seeking the help myself sent me on all these different sort of training paths, and then just feel like I've got to share the information. I want to help people. They don't have to suffer. Like I think so many of us just think we have to grin and bear it and suck it up, or just try harder all the time. And I just, yeah, it's like, no. And I think, yeah, it really comes back to that awareness key, and just having that self-compassion, really, understanding for ourselves.
Yeah, amazing. I can definitely resonate there. I struggled with postnatal anxiety slightly after my first, but massively after my second. And when I guess you could say went into the medical system, I just wasn't finding the answers. And being able to take a step back and meet people like you along the way that have taken a slightly alternative path, but a path that has been equally, if not much more effective. Yeah, absolutely. That's wanting to share this information, because imagine if you had this information 4 years ago when you were, you know, taking these steps, and I feel the exact same way. So that's so beautiful. So with your own personal health journey, I mean, obviously we don't need to go into more than you're comfortable with, but what were some signs that you weren't running at your best, so to speak?
As a mom?
Yeah, as a mom.
Yeah. The patience, not literally kind of not being there, not being able to say, it's very hard having 2 babies that need settling and you're just one person. And just like, it's all, I guess, little bits of things that mount up over time. And my biggest sort of breaking moment, I just remember it's a real like an out of body experience in my kitchen. I can still picture where we were. My mum and dad were there, and my husband was there. And I can't remember what brought it up to that, but I just literally had a breakdown. I was literally on the floor kicking and screaming that like I needed help. I didn't know what to kind of do. And just didn't feel like anybody understood me. I felt like they were just making it out to be that I was just complaining, you know, like just, I think our parents kind of, the moms, they have it's just like get on with it mentality. And I really felt like I should just be able to get on with it, but I was not being able to just get on with it. I felt like something was literally out of balance within me. I wasn't who I thought I wasn't who I was. I was this different person. I wasn't the personality that I wanted. I was quite irritated by pretty much everything, and everybody was just getting on my nerves. Like, not all the time, but the majority of the time, too much for me that I wanted it to be. And that was, yeah, it was really that mental side of things. And then fatigue, like pure fatigue. I love going for walks. I'd always gone for walks, and I couldn't even walk around the block. Like I was just so exhausted. Or if I did manage to walk around the block, I'd be then on the couch after, just totally shattered. Other signs are like when you lie down and then you go to get up and you get really dizzy. That's a real sign of your adrenals being impacted and needing support there. So lots of little signs. Insomnia, big time, because your babies start to sleep through the night, but you're not sleeping through the night when you finally can. And you might think, oh, your body's just training to that, but there are different things underlying there that's actually impacting and stopping you from being able to sleep. There's a big stress response, a cortisol spike throughout the night, different causes for that. And so your sleep's impacted, which of course has a whole knock-on effect to everything in the day as well. So you think, oh, I just need more sleep, but it's not just as simple as that, you know. It kind of, there's so many different factors at play, and it just gets really overwhelming. You think you're doing all the right things, you're taking all the supplements everybody says, you're like, why aren't I feeling any better? And this is what a lot of my clients kind of come to me. It's just like, you feel like you're eating healthy, you're doing all the salads, you're doing all your juices, and you're taking your multivitamins and your iron supplements and all those kinds of things, and you're still feeling totally crap. And when you understand what's really happening, you're just like, validation of, oh crap, it's not just me. It's not, I think for me, it was like, I felt like my personality was out of my control, which is really weird. And having mental health disorders, with eating disorders, I can be very controlling of myself and very critical of myself, and very, very self-critical and judgmental. You should be able to do it. You should be able to just do these things. And when you can't, it's like, what's wrong with me?
It's such a misconception, isn't it? Like, you think you'll be one way when you're pregnant, then you have a baby, and anything that's sort of been bubbling away, I feel like it often comes to the surface once you have the baby. And it's really interesting what you're saying about, the sleep and not being able to sleep even when the baby does. That's something I felt, like the insomnia, and I've spoken to plenty of moms that are like, but they're sleeping and then I can't sleep because I'm so worried that they're going to wake up. And it's like, okay, well, let's address that. What was, I guess, a key turning point in your journey? So what were you looking at first? Did you look at, and forgive me if I sound like I have no idea what I'm talking about, because this is all a new concept for me, but did you look at your mineral balances and stuff first? Was that one of the first things you looked at and started to adjust?
I was trying to figure out like when I actually found HTMA, because I was doing all of my kind of functional health was around hormones and around gut, and the gut was a big thing for me, really, really helped. And of course, hormones, all of us say our hormones are all over the place. That's like one of the biggest things, but realizing that hormones is like way down the line. And if hormones are impacted, like there's a lot of other things that's actually causing that. We don't start there. It's like, that's not the place. I think a lot of people do. They're like, oh, what herbs can I take to raise certain hormones and things like that? That's really not, it's just a magic pill kind of thing, and it's not actually fixing what the problem is. So I'm always learning functional health. We're always doing extra trainings and extra webinars and things, just learning all these different things that are coming through. And one of them that I watched was on HTMA, hair tissue mineral analysis. And it was explaining how minerals are literally the spark plugs to the chemistry of life. Like your minerals, your electrolytes, it's that spark, that creates that energy within the cells. It's needed for every single process in your body to be able to do its job. It's needed for that ATP, that energy molecule, and literally every process that your body does requires that. So that just made absolute complete sense. It's like, well, of course it's going to be, you need to know what they are to then know where you're out of balance, and then you can hopefully rectify those. And then I found out that they're also very much related to your personality. It's not just necessarily your energy and how things function, but it's your personality. Like literally your metabolism and everything is related to your minerals. And it's just, it was just dinging a lot of bells, ticking a lot of boxes as I was learning about it. And so I enrolled in the advanced course to learn about minerals. And it's just been a massive game changer for me personally. And I would say for at least 80%, probably more, of the mums that I see, they have a pattern of what we call 4 lows, which is the 4 key macro minerals, which are calcium, magnesium, sodium, and potassium. They're all just bottomed out. And these are the things that you need: sodium and potassium for, if you might remember in biology class, the sodium potassium pump of your cells for your nutrients to get in, for your wastes to get out. Literal chemistry of how your cell processes work. You need magnesium to actually activate all that process. And you need calcium for all of your structural processes and things in your body, as well as lots of other things with hormones and things as well. So these are the key things that are running the show, and you've got none of them. So no wonder you're feeling like you do. So with 4 lows, it's literally like your wheels are spinning. You feel like you're doing all the right things, but anything that you do, it's not getting results. Or even worse, because a lot of the time, because we're so depleted, adding anything in, any sort of supplement in, will actually throw things off so much that you feel sick from taking a supplement that you think is going to help you and make you feel better. So that's a really good kind of indicator as well. And then for me as well, I had copper toxicity, which I see massively with a lot of moms as well, because I believe that stems from a lot of moms going into pregnancy kind of depleted, but also we have a much higher estrogen and copper to make baby. They're very, copper's massively important for all the blood vessels and things. And so these rise, and then a lot of the time mums are really their drainage pathways, their detox pathways are very clogged. Constipation is a really key thing that many moms, even before pregnancy, are complaining of. They're not, and constipation is pooing less than once a day. If you're having one good bowel void, that's good. Ideally, we want 2 or 3 full voids. Often people will have a coffee and it's just a sloppy mess, and they think that, oh, that's all clear. That's not a proper evacuation, to be as polite as we can around the poop. And so because these drainage, the ways that we get clear out hormones, clear out copper, clear out extra toxins is kind of backed up, if you will. The liver gets impacted, and then we don't have proper clearance of things. We have more estrogen, which raises copper, which then our bile, which processes, helps digest fats, which also binds up toxins. Hopefully I'm not getting too complicated. Sorry, with all the biology.
I'm following, absolutely.
So yeah, the bile is used to it's like a natural sponge, if you will, to toxins in the body, but it gets really sludgy and thick, and it can't do its job properly when we have these higher estrogens and copper, because we're not able to properly clear them after pregnancy. And so then we get this big imbalance with copper, with zinc, and this really impacts that anxiety and that depression. And that is a big cause. Many moms with postnatal depression and anxiety have been found to have really high copper levels, which was just like, oh my gosh. And it's related to eating disorders. So I was like, oh. And my gestation, my mom had a copper coil throughout my whole gestational period. So I was literally even exposed to copper from little bean.
Yeah, so, I know.
Yeah.
I think people really underestimate the effects of this stuff in our body. I think sometimes we can think that we're robots and we're just meant to function as is without putting in, quality and out quality. Like, it's all got to be balanced. We're such a creature of needing that homeostasis or that perfect balance that, I'm sitting here and I'm listening. I'm like, oh, that makes sense to me. Just amazing stuff. So your first thing that you would do when you see a client is test them with that hair analysis. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, obviously a full intake of really understanding their symptoms and where they're coming from. But functional tests are expensive. So generally, a lot of my clients, they can't even afford any testing. So we will use bloods. Bloods aren't the best. They're great to be used in conjunction with a mineral test, because blood is transport medium. The body is trying to keep your blood as constant as possible. It will actually draw out of the tissues to keep the blood constant. And so you can be depleted in your tissues, but you're not seeing that in your blood. Or you could have something like really high potassium in your blood and think potassium's not a problem, but it's because your cells are getting damaged and they're releasing all the potassium that they contain. So it's signs of other things going on. So I will look at bloods initially, because often people have blood tests. And so we'll start there. But I always recommend you do a HTMA. It's the most cost-effective one. It shows us what your metabolism is. It shows us how your adrenals are doing and how your thyroid's doing, how your liver, your inflammation, how you're handling stress. Like, I could go on. It shows you your toxic metals, loads of different things. And really, because the minerals are such the foundation of literally everything, then that is just going to get you the most bang for your buck, but also the best results. It's not a quick fix, depending on how depleted you are. It can take some time, depending for your body to actually start absorbing. And none of the minerals are individual. So it's not like, oh, my magnesium looks like it's low, I've got to take magnesium. You might need boron, you might need other things, to help the actual absorption of that. But often with moms, the best thing that I can advise for you to do is to really focus on your potassium. Lots of us are depleted in potassium in general in society. We're depleted in potassium and sodium. So sea salt and potassium sources, like particularly coconut water, is probably the easiest one. Particularly for us in Australia, it's really easy to get that. But potatoes, beet greens, you squash, anything like that. There's also supplements called like jigsaw pickleball, adrenal cocktail, bumble root, things like that. And if you feel like you're getting, feeling much better on those, I wouldn't start with magnesium or anything like that, because that can actually push your sodium lower. And a lot of moms are, like I said, they're already very low in sodium and potassium. So it's really starting with that sodium and potassium support. So foods with potassium, start there. Sea salt, adding just a pinch of good quality white sea salt, none of the pink sea salts. They've got iron ore in them. and also lead. They've been found, like Himalayan rock salts have had a lot of lead. So you actually get metals in those. That's what actually gives them the color.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So good quality, not to overwhelm, because I know it, you think you can sometimes think, oh, what's the point? You're trying so much in all these areas, and then you're like, oh, you hear something. And because with sea salts, microplastics is a big issue, of course, with all the dumping in the ocean. So it's like, oh, what are you supposed to do? So there's Mizzy sea salt. Icelandic sea salts are really pure. I stay away from like the Redmond's real salt, even the Celtic sea salt, the grey salts, because they've again got metals in them that are colouring them. So a good white, Icelandic is the best, it's the purest. But Mizzy is like a desert salt here in Western Australia, if you like to support local. And just adding it's about a quarter teaspoon per litre of water, and it doesn't actually taste salty. It actually tastes like smoother, and you can tell that it's hydrating, because you need the sodium and potassium to actually hydrate your cells properly. Not if you're just drinking gallons of water, like you're not going to hydrate. You need the electrolytes to actually help that pass into the cells properly. So that's the biggest place to start. And of course, drainage pathways, making sure that you're pooping at least once a day. If you're not pooping, adding the salt can sometimes help there. There's triphala, different herbs and things that you can use to help. We use different supplements, practitioner grade, like Cellcore Bowel Move is a really good one. I have a whole energy and drainage challenge, which is super cheap, which has like 30 different practices that you can do to help with all of those drainage pathways and supporting those. Because pooping, if you're not pooping every day, like that is literally where we start. We've just got to get that moving before we can do anything else, because if you haven't got that clearing system, it's just going to clog up the whole system. It just works like a back chain.
I recently had someone say they believe that the gut is the first brain and the brain is the second brain, and that sort of started to really just, I guess, I've been on the fence with gut health. Like I knew it was important, but I could never commit. Whereas everything you're saying now, I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's resonates so highly with me. We give out potassium supplements in a hospital setting all the time. It's one of the most common things that we give out, but that's where it stops. I saw on your Instagram actually a recipe for an adrenal cocktail. Is that something that you'd recommend mums to do? Can they do it while pregnant as well?
Yes, absolutely. Recommended for sure. Most of the stuff we do with minerals is recommended, pre-pregnancy, during, everything, because it's all food-based. So it's just going to support everything. Ideally all there, but generally I'm seeing people that are after and they're like, what's going on? It can be done all through. Adrenal cocktails, I generally say wherever you feel most depleted. So whether that's generally it's mid-morning or mid-afternoon, start there with just one, see how you feel with it. You don't have to have it. Okay, the adrenal cocktail is essentially orange juice, coconut water, and sea salt. Sometimes you don't have coconut water, you can just have plain water with a bit of cream of tartar, but that's quite acidic on some people's tummies and they don't deal with it very well. Coconut water's got a lot more magnesium as well, potassium as well, so it's going to be more bang for your buck. Mixing orange juice, coconut water, and sea salt, you don't have to have them all together. Right? It's just easier to kind of mix it in one and know you've got your hit, but you can sort of spread them out through the day, just having those kinds of foods. Generally it's sort of that mid-afternoon slump. Start there. If you feel like your body responds really well to it, or when it starts responding well to it, you might want to add in a second one. So generally 2 a day is pretty good for most people.
Okay. So speaking of foods, I guess some common foods that we may be consuming that are actually making us feel pretty crappy. Like what is actually depleting us of minerals? I think I know that like maybe caffeine is one, not great for us.
Yeah, and wine o'clock for mums, of course, is going to, of course, but even though it's red wine and it's got your antioxidants and things as well. Yeah, any alcohol, any caffeine, and but stimulants. I mean, you feel like you need the stimulants, but they're just more like fuel on the fire for your adrenals, like just draining your adrenals even more. So even ginseng and things like, even maca sometimes can be just too much for people's adrenals. They think, they're doing the right thing and it's just too much. So really listening to your body, seeing how you react, like you'll know if the food is right for you or not. You'll know how it makes you feel if you really, really clue in. Of course, gluten and dairy are the big demons always. People always demonize them. I absolutely love bread, sourdough bread. I make my own sourdough, and I love dairy. But if you can get raw dairy, and it's illegal here in Australia, we did have made by cow, but they've just gone bust, I think, which is sad. But getting a good local dairy that's unhomogenized at least. not the general, not to name any brands, but any of your general dairy things. You know, having yogurt's going to be better, or your kefir, if you can ferment it, that's going to be a really nice way to get more, because I believe dairy is a really good food source. I know it can thicken mucous membranes. So if you've got any sinus issues or things like that, it's going to be a problem. And people say that it can imbalance the hormones as well, because it's like a hormonal production as well from the cow, anything to grow the calf. So yeah, you'll know if you respond to dairy. Often though, if you're responding to dairy, it's because you've got a damaged gut, and you can't make the lactase enzymes properly. So you've got, you know, compromised microvilli border in your gut brush border. So yeah, gluten, your generic ones in the store. If you can, go to the ancient grains, go to the proper sourdoughs, not your general. Sourdoughs in the stores aren't generally fermented, they just use yeast as well. So anything that's going to ferment is going to break down that gluten better and make it better on your digestive system. So they're like the key ones. If some people, nightshades and things like that, different FODMAPs, they can all be reactive. That is a whole like other area to go into, because the gut is hugely important, especially when you're so depleted, because if your gut's damaged, you're not going to be absorbing the nutrients from the foods that you are eating. So that's, you know, a big thing to consider. Often with moms, because they're so low in the sodium, potassium, as well as zinc, they're actually not making the stomach acid the same. And so you'll get a lot of reflux and heartburn issues. So just taking something like apple cider vinegar 15-20 minutes before your meal, making sure that you dilute it in water. I always say that lots of people take it neat, but you're going to burn your esophagus. So diluting a bit of apple cider vinegar, anywhere from a teaspoon to a tablespoon, whatever you can tolerate, that's going to really help to stimulate that stomach acid, which is like your first line of defense as well to any pathogens that you're ingesting. Because a lot of people, they don't have enough stomach acid, they're ingesting parasites and things unknowingly, and then they get an infection in the gut, which then further exacerbates all that problem, and it's like a whole chain of other effects. So yeah, often if we were in full lows with moms, I'll recommend you actually take a betaine HCl, hydrochloric acid supplement. Digestive enzymes are usually really good as well, and digestive bitters, or like Urban Moonshine original bitters, is really good, and not as strong as the Swedish bitters, but anything that can support that digestion is pretty much in any protocol that I do, because it's so key to getting everything in as well.
Yeah, I saw a naturopath when I was struggling with putting on weight. I lost a lot of weight after I had my son, about 30 kilos quite rapidly. Wow. And I saw a beautiful naturopath in Brisbane, and put me on the bitters, and it tasted horrendous, but it worked. Like, it really helped me digest my food a bit better. So I love that you're talking about apple cider vinegar as well for heartburn and reflux, because obviously in pregnancy you're a bit more prone to those sorts of things. So that's really helpful. I guess so. What would, I guess, let's just say like the perfect breakfast for a mum that's going to set her up for the day with a bit of energy? What sort of foods would she be doing to help set her up for the day?
The easiest ones is probably like dinner leftovers, honestly. It's like stews and soups, which is like, it's not your classic breakfast foods, but it's going to be super warming and nourishing. Often with moms, their digestive fire is gone. They call it like a lot of air is in the body after pregnancy, and so it's all cool. So anything like cold salads or juices and things is cooling on the system, and it's not actually firing up the digestive system. So anything warming is really going to be good. And I think soups and stews are just so gentle. But for me, it's like focusing on it's just whatever's most nutritious. I would like to think grandma's cooking, and just, you know, the bone broths, even just vegetable broths, and some good source of protein, aiming ideally around 30 grams of protein if you can, and getting that in. So yeah, even just like some sausages, or just like some leftover meat from dinner, some chicken or anything like that. Eggs, I love eggs. So easy ones I like to do, like a breakfast bake. We've got, do you know Quirky Cooking? Jo Whitten over here. Yeah. She's awesome. She's got an amazing breakfast casserole. It's like sweet potatoes, white potatoes. I put some carrots and things as well, mince, and zucchini. And so you just do that in a big bake. You can do a big batch of that. I'm all about batch cooking, make it simple, and portion it up, and then you can just pull that out through the week for really good breakfasts. That's probably one of my favorites. I like pancakes as well, like banana pancakes. So I'll use a banana, a couple of eggs, 2-3 eggs, and like a scoop of some protein powder, or just I just sometimes just add some collagen to that, and some tapioca starch, mixing that together. It's about a 1/4 cup of the flour, whatever you want to use, and then mixing that all together. So you've got good potassium from your banana, a bit of extra protein, and then the eggs, which are just an amazing food source as well. And that's a really nice one with some blueberries and some good biodynamic Greek yogurt for some extra calcium and probiotics as well, and maple syrup. Don't be scared of the good sugars. So yeah, they're probably my two go-tos, is the banana pancakes and that breakfast slice.
I'm so hungry hearing you.
So good.
I'm pregnant at the moment and my appetite is really it's up there. But hearing the breakfast bake, I've like wrote it down. I'm like, breakfast bake underline.
Get it in ya. It's good.
I mean, I could talk to you for hours, but I'll just finish off with some practical questions. But so common toxins in the home. I literally just watched you make some low tox baby wipes. But where are our common toxins coming from? Where should we be looking for those toxins?
Well, I'm going to probably surprise you, but the biggest one is your tap water. If you're drinking tap water, if you're drinking tap water, stop now, get a filter. There's the Ace Bio Jug, is probably the most cost effective, but you have to keep replacing filters. I really like the Big Berkey. Don't get the fluoride filters. I don't know if they've sorted out that issue. They were leaching aluminium, but the rest of the filters are really good. And you can literally put like scummy seawater in that and get drinking water out. It just gets everything. If you're in America, you go international.
I will be, yeah.
Pristine Hydro over there is really good water filters, but just do your research on those. I've got a blog all about water and what to look for in your filters. But yeah, that's one of the biggest ones because it's got metals, it's got the chlorine, there's all the halides which block your iodine receptors for your thyroid. So that's like already knocking on your metabolism and your thyroid health. Water, and you should be making sure that you're hydrated. That's if you do nothing else, is get hydrated, and the best way is getting quality water and having some of your electrolytes, the sea salt, in your water. That's going to be like, that can solve everything from people, like literally even depression, and it could just be a hydration issue. I've got a blog about that as well, with all the things to look for with overhydration.
I'll link your blog for anyone listening as well, so that they can go and have a read. That would be awesome.
But and feel free to email me as well. I'm here to serve. So ask me your questions. So that's the start. And then obviously like your cleaning products, your personal care products, anything you're putting on your skin is just like you're ingesting it. So it's just, I think a lot of us know we've got some really good brands out here. If you go to the general health food stores, you kind of think everything's safe there, but I would still advise you to look at the labels in the health stores. There's still a lot of little hidden things. Fragrance is an obvious one, parfum. Because that's going to impact, it mimics the hormones in your body, and so it goes onto the receptors where your hormones should be going, and then you don't get the actual proper response of your hormones. So fragrances in your home, your washing products on your clothes. So many moms like that linen smell, and clean is no smell. It should just have neutral smell. It shouldn't have all these fragrances. And that was a big one for me, because I literally used to stand in the aisle at the shop and pick the best smell. Like I can remember doing that, and it's just like that was a big change. But I love Hoodstone for washing powders here. That's what I use. It's really good. And my husband's a real stinky scaffolder, so that helps get through all that as well. And it's the good Australian local brand. So washing powders, all your personal care. There's so many different rabbit holes you can go down. You'll probably hear a lot at the moment about seed oils and PUFAs, because they kind of block your cells to nutrients as well. So lots of our healthy plant-based products, there are lots of seed oils which are actually can become rancid on the body. So I don't want to overwhelm anybody, but try and look for like tallow, the old-fashioned things that grandma, lard and stuff like that. There's nice ones now. I saw one this morning, I can't remember the name, but there are ones starting to come out which are more animal-based, which is very similar to your own profile then as well, to absorb things. So beauty products, makeups, your Natio and stuff is probably the easiest one, Sukin, things like that, shampoos, all those things. But that's kind of what I work with my clients around, as well as finding the best ones to work. And I've got, again, resources.
Amazing. Now, gold standard, I'm already pregnant, but when should I have contacted you about preconception health? Like, how far out should you be starting to look at this stuff?
well, in the best case scenario, like as far as you can, but generally we say 3 cycles.
Yeah.
But so 3 full cycles of your hormones is when you're going to start to see results in those eggs. So that's the minimum amount of time that I would recommend. Anything more than that's going to, you know, the longer you can go, the better it's going to be. Because if you do, well, everybody's got toxic, everyone's got metals. I never realized that was even an issue. I just didn't consider it a problem, but everybody has now. And, you know, even if you've heard the Lint news thing at the moment, they're really high in lead and cadmium just in your Lint chocolate, which I think is a quality chocolate. There's so many different things out there. You know, even in lots of the organics, in the teas and things, there's metals in those. It's not to be scared and not consume anything. It's just making sure that your body can cope with what's coming in. So making, if your drainage pathways are all clear, it doesn't matter. Like, and you still, you know, make as best choices that you can. But yeah, there's lots of things. I've forgotten the question. I've gone off on tangents again.
No, I'm loving this. My notepad has never looked so full. There is so much. I will make sure I share your blog and your suggestions that you've made just in the comments section when people want to have a look. Now, you've briefly touched base on sleep. So I work with mums and bubs with sleep and feeding, that sort of thing. How important is sleep to our gut health specifically? Like, does sleep impact gut health? Gut health impacts sleep? Like, it's obviously a full circle thing.
Yeah, and yes and yes. It's everything impacts everything. But like we are literally a whole system, and it's all going to impact everything. Everything's going to impact everything at some stage. But yeah, particularly with your hormones, your leptin and your ghrelin, that your hunger cues, all that kind of thing is probably the key one that you kind of find. Melatonin production, that gets impacted through stress. Which is, and melatonin, your sleep hormone, is made within your gut. So if you've got a compromised gut, then you're not even making as much of your sleep hormone that you want. It's not all made in the gut, but predominantly made in the gut. So yeah, gut, that's probably the biggest ones. Your appetite's going to change, which is going to impact all of your minerals and all of that whole cascade. But it's going to literally impact your sleep hormone and how you make that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Amazing. It's important. In other words, it's very important.
Massively important. Sleep is for everything, like your mood, your patience, for, you know, your sleep. You need that. And I think as moms as well, is we kind of we have this battle between fatigue and exhaustion, but also wanting our own time. And you know, that time when the baby goes down, you've got that evening time, and they're going to stay up on the phone with the blue light that's going to keep you awake as well. Yes. And you're thinking that you're getting quality. If you're not getting quality time, you're just going to, you know, it's the sleep debt. It mounts up. And I think it was, I can't remember the numbers now, but there's some massive amount of sleep that you lose in the first 6 years of being a mom. It's, you know, like years of, like, I think it's like a year of sleep in the 6 years or something. It's huge. And that sleep debt, it's all a drain on the body as well through all the different processes, and especially your mental health and how, your patience and how you parent. You know, if you don't sleep, you know.
Yeah, if I can get 8 or 9 hours sleep, and that's a good night, then I am a different mother than if I've had 4 hours. And that is why I do what I do. And I'm sure that you work with women so they can be more wonderful humans as well. Now, your online course, Radiant Mama, so that is a self-led course that people can do. And how long does that one go for?
It's lifetime access. It's a self-paced with all the foundations for healing from anything. But you've also got a Facebook community of moms, which I'm building. There's also me in there 24/7. If you've got any questions at any time, for a lifetime, you have me as your coach in the Facebook community. So any questions that you have about the course or anything in general, you know, the life coaching things, the way you're thinking, things that you're struggling with in general as a mom, to go to the community and ask anything you want. I will be eventually doing lives in there as well, and workshops, and just going through different things, holding circles, mother circles, just to get that village and that community, because we need it. And I think virtually is probably the easiest way for these modern moms, as sad as it is. It's great if you can do it in person, but getting that time, and at least if you can go even when your kids are here, you know, you can still benefit. It's going to be a big valuable resource.
Beautiful. And you also work one-on-one with your Radiate from Within program. So best way to get in touch with you, is that via social media or your website?
My website's probably the best. There's all the information through there. But an email as well, hello@drcarlaatkinson.com. Any questions at all, I am there for you. And yeah, let's get you feeling good again.
Exactly.
Radiant within.
100%. That sounds amazing. Yeah, I'll have 10 of them, please. So perfect. So thank you so much, Dr. Carla Atkinson, for joining me. You can find her at Dr. Carla Atkinson, Carla with a C, on Instagram if you'd like to see her. But yes, thank you so much. You've been amazing.
Oh, my pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
Thank you.